trimming lines.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the November 12th, 2019 City Council meeting. Roll call, item number 1, roll call. Nicole called to let me know she's excused. Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Public forum. We will start with Tammy Landine.
I just spent the last week of October at the Olympic Training Center in Lake Placid, New York, where I was selected to be part of Team USA's parabobsled team. But unfortunately, because the parabobsled team is so new, we don't have a corporate sponsor. So they followed that up with, you need to do all your funding, and we need you in Norway in 3 weeks. So yeah, went from high to low real quick. And I don't know if the town has any resources to help me out, but that's what I'm here to ask for. If there's any way, any resources that the town could give me to help me make this happen.
Dennis, do you have anything?
Council, we included in your packet some information that Ms. Landine provided to us. Total cost from now to the end of the Olympics, you're looking at $18,000. Is that about right?
Yes.
And the initial cost of just being able to go to Norway, get the additional training, and get your first meet under your belt, so to speak, is around $5,000. Is it close to $6,000? If the council would like to help out, I'm sure we could find a little bit of room in the budget, and if you want to do that, it's up to the council. How there's obviously there's other people around town that we could also help and get the word out to, and I've already directed her to. Well, I've already sent the information on to the Cary Medical Center, which is also very open sometimes with their veterans, and especially something like this. And I don't know if Chris Duty has reached out to her, but
I spoke with a gentleman named Bill today.
okay. Yep.
And he said that he would get back to me in the next 2 hours.
Okay. So sounds like they're on top of it. It's really what are the wishes of the council?
Okay. Any comments or questions from the council?
Do you have a GoFund page?
Yes, sir, I do. Our daughter started it just about $1,000 in there now. And I've gone around to a couple of the businesses in town. There's been a few businesses that have given me a couple $100.
It'd be probably nice if you went to the Republican and told your story and give them your GoFund address and stuff like that. That might help you also.
Rainey Kluke reached out to me. Somebody contacted him, and we're supposed to do an interview at the Caribou Rec Center on Thursday, and he said he's going to put it on the news.
Okay, you should invite Chris Bouchard from the Republican to attend.
Okay,
When do you need these funds, Tammy?
I have to be in Norway in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks.
And so it's kind of an all-season thing. I mean, the total would be by the end of March. I would have spent it all, but the $6,000 would at least give me. I've got 2 weeks in Norway, and then a week in Germany immediately after.
And Bill said he'd give you 24 hours before be back in contact with you within 24 hours.
Chair will move to, I will add item 6D to take up this subject under new business. When we get to new business on the agenda. My opinion, I would hope we would get a motion for council when we get there. I'm just gonna throw out a number just so people can think about it, because this all came on to us.
Yes, sir.
$1,000 as a trial balloon for the council to decide. And I just ask that we all think about it until we get to item 6D, and we'll decide then. Okay? Hang tight. Don't move. Okay? Anybody else from the public that would like to speak? John?
Good evening. It's been brought to my attention over the past week and a half that we're possibly going to be losing some businesses. And I wanted to make sure that the council was aware and wanted to ask some questions of the council to see what I can do to help on the state level. One of the businesses is Beauregards. They're looking at increasing the size of their footprint to a minimum of what they've been offered of 5 acres. Currently, they've been offered a 24,000 square foot building, and that is what they've been offered so far by another community that is taking a lot of our business. The business has been here for, I believe he said somewhere in the range of 90 years. I don't know if that's right. My memory's horrible, so it could have been 9 years. I'm not sure. The fact of the matter is that's a tax base that we're going to be losing from this town that's going to be quite substantial. And I'd like to know what, if the council has been able to do to work with John on this.
Okay. We have a policy.
I don't ask questions.
Well, at the public forum
Yeah.
part, we don't.
Then can I ask for some time during the executive session?
I will bring this up under, I don't know, would that be appropriate under executive session?
Because I'm going to need to ask some questions.
Okay, good point. That's what we'll do then,
Thank you.
if that's all right.
No, that's perfectly fine. Like I
Any
said,
other questions?
I just need to bring up the other point is DHHS.
That is on the agenda.
Good. Thank you, Mark.
In
Mayor.
economic. Okay. Will he be allowed to attend that one?
If you allow him to attend that, he can be there.
Gee, a lot of power tonight. Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the public would like to speak? Hearing none, I'll bring the public forum part of the agenda to a close. Item 4, bid opening, awards, and appointment. We have an appointment to the Nylander Board. Dennis.
Council, we received an application from a gentleman, Mr. Dana Jones, who is a Caribou resident, and he would like to serve with the Nylander Board. Looks like, according to his application, he graduated from Caribou High School in 1975. He's attended colleges, has degrees, and so looks like his specialty with the board would be focusing on grant research. So they would tap his skills and being able to do that and find some additional grants. But we don't have any concerns from a staff point if the mayor and council would like to make that appointment.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Moved by Councilor Hill, seconded by Tom, to appoint to the Nylander Board, Mr. Jones. Any comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Number 5, Public hearing and possible action items. 5A, ordinance amending personnel policies pertaining to catastrophic leave and whistleblower protection. Dennis.
Councilors, we introduced this ordinance back in October. Tonight is the required public hearing in order for you to consider adopting it into the personnel policy. The city charter requires any personnel policy changes to be adopted by ordinance, and thus we're going through this public hearing process and notification process. The amendments, as indicated in the title, are pertaining to the two items. Our catastrophic leave program. That is a program that allows staff to donate their sick leave to a pool, and if somebody is in need of extra sick time due to a catastrophic situation, they've run out of their own vacation time, comp time, and sick time, they would be able to tap into this pool. And so this just clarifies how that would be managed, and essentially making it so that as you donate your time, we're looking at the value of the time based on if you're there are some employees that are able to bank sick time and be compensated for it. So for the employees in that situation, the amount of sick leave that they can donate to the pool is also predicated upon the amount of sick time they'd be compensated for. If an employee currently has bank time but would not be compensated for it in the future, they could still donate to that pool. The employees that want to tie in or tap into it, it would all be anonymous, and an employee would not be able to get their sick leave time back out of the pool once it's been donated. As far as the whistleblower program, it's not necessarily a program, I should say. It is a law adopted by the state of Maine, and the Maine Human Rights Commission asked that we review our whistleblower policies and adopt them into our personnel policies. Basically, this would outline that there's a process that employees can go through to raise concerns about the potential violation of laws that a supervisor may ask them to do, or if there's an issue of them being put at risk and raising concerns about it. This basically follows the state law that they have a process they can go through. They don't necessarily have to go to their supervisor. If they feel their supervisor would not take appropriate action, they can, in a sense, go over that supervisor's head and make sure the administration is made aware of it. And then we have a process that we have to follow from the administration side and the supervisor side to document and follow up and make sure that things are being taken care of properly. It also outlines their rights as an employee under the State of Maine Whistleblower Act, and so we've drafted this in accordance with all of those laws so we can make it very clear to the employees. The intent is that once the council adopts this, we will have training later this month. The Maine Human Rights Commission has indicated it must be mandatory training, that all employees come and receive this information and be made aware of their rights under this law and the policy.
Okay. Chair will open the public hearing at 6:15 on the ordinance amending the personnel policies pertaining to catastrophic leave and whistleblower protection. Do we have anybody that would like to speak?
I do.
Jane.
Good evening. I'm Jane Farron, city employee for 12 years. I was unable to attend the Personnel Committee meeting that was held October 9th as I was attending election training in Augusta. And I believe that it was discussed that night, this program. I am speaking this evening to voice my support for the city having a catastrophic leave program. The catastrophic leave program was established, as far as I can determine, December 8th, 2008, when the council adopted a personnel policy. According to HR, the catastrophic leave program has never been used. No one has donated any sick time, and so there isn't any value there. One of the reasons that this hasn't been used might be that 54 out of the 69 eligible employees have purchased on their own Income Protection Plan, IPP, which is short-term disability insurance. This income protection plan can cover an employee and an employee only, up to a year. Additionally, the city allows employees to earn 8 hours of sick leave a month or 12 days a year. Again, I'm here supporting the City of Caribou having a catastrophic leave program. I'm not a union employee, so I'm not sure if the union and other non-union employees might be treated differently when it comes to the catastrophic leave program. According to HR, the employees hired after January 1st, 2014, earn sick leave. But that sick leave has no value to the employee, has no value other than to the employee, and there isn't anything to donate to the catastrophic leave program. So, just on the 2 floors of Caribou City office, 7 of the 13 employees cannot donate. Then there are the employees, such as myself, those hired before January 1st, 2014. I earn sick time and will be paid out when I retire for the number of hours in my sick bank as of the date of December 31st, 2014. Plus, I have additional hours in my sick bank that I will not be paid for, and I am told I cannot donate them because they have no value except to me if I was to get sick. One of the reasons I'm speaking for the catastrophic leave program is that it can be used in a time of need for an employee who has a sick family member, such as a spouse with cancer that needs treatment in Bangor, Portland, and even Boston. They need their spouse present as they go through treatment, and if that employee does not have enough sick time in their bank, they could be eligible to use sick leave donated to the catastrophic leave program. Another example would be a premature baby or a sick child, and the parent is a city employee who needs to be there and doesn't have enough sick time in their bank. Income protection doesn't work in the case of a sick family member, but a catastrophic leave program that is family-friendly, easy to understand and use, could help employees with sick family members. These are just 2 examples that demonstrate the benefits of having a workable catastrophic leave program. Rather than making it more unlikely that anyone will donate or even be able to donate, the City of Caribou should support programs that assist employees and their family members through their time of need. Please reconsider adopting this amendment to the catastrophic leave program. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public wish to speak on this item? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing at 6:19. I have a question. Jane, in your talk, you said that you would hope that the city council would reconsider.
Adopting it. The amendment as it's presented tonight to the catastrophic leave.
Do you have another way that it should be written that meets your?
Well, I think that it's making it. HR told me that people who were hired after that date that I gave you cannot donate their leave. It's different than what Mr. Marker just said. So there's a difference in interpretation. But HR is the first person you go through for the catastrophic leave program. The city manager is who you appeal their decision to, his decision to. I just think, I don't see why employees who have been hired since that date, they got sick time, why they can't donate it? Because I've been told there's no value to that sick time. Is what I've been told.
So the sentence that I'm looking at here, as far as an employee hired after January 1st, 2014, they can donate to the bank. It specifically states that they can donate, but basically we're going to follow the same tenure guidelines for somebody that was hired before that date. So if you've been here 10 years, you'd be able to, in a sense, cash in a certain number of sick hours when you leave. And you're able to donate that portion that you'd be cashing out. But we recognize that even though an employee is hired after January 1st, 2014, won't be able to cash anything out, this one sentence does allow them to donate time on that same basis that we're saying if you've got 10 years, even though you were hired after January 1st, 2014, we'd look at that same table. How much could you get cashed out for if you could get cashed out for? And that's the maximum amount that you'd be able to donate to the pool. So that part of the concern I've heard is some of this language makes it more complicated to just say how much can I donate, and it creates extra steps. But the concern was wanting to make sure we understand the relationship to those that are able to cash out their sick leave versus those that can't. And so that's one reason why we've added the extra language in there.
So if I was to understand this employees hired after January 1st, 2014 may also donate their time under the same tenure guidelines.
Yes.
Okay. So an employee who has no cash value to their sick time can donate their sick time?
Yes.
But myself, who has over 1,000 hours of sick time and will not be paid for that sick time, cannot donate over and above what I will be cashed out at. That's what it's saying too, correct?
It is saying that.
Right. And I'm told that there's no value to that sick time because it can't be shown on the general ledger, maybe? Can't be shown. My time does not have value because it can't be shown.
Your bank sick
excess,
time.
my excess sick time can't be shown. So the sick time for these employees under that have been hired since 2014, would their sick time be showing value anyplace?
Yes.
It does?
It shows up under the uncompensated absences line.
Even though they don't get paid out for it?
Yes, because they could potentially be paid out for it in the future while employed. They don't get paid out for it, but they can use it.
Okay. Tom, did you have something?
Go ahead, because I think you're going to say the same thing. I
Well,
am.
I was gonna move on.
Exactly. Sounds like you guys got some negotiation to do.
Well, there's an item coming up where we will vote on this under 7A. When we get to 7A, we're gonna bring this up. Any other questions?
So the only question I have too is this is stitched together with whistleblower protection. Any reason why those are concatenated in one ordinance?
Just that we recognize that we could bring them at the same time, but certainly with the issues you're hearing tonight, we could strike the catastrophic leave program out of this and still adopt the whistleblower separately.
That's what I'm getting at. Okay.
Yep.
Any questions, comments? Okay. I closed the public hearing. Okay, we're done that one. Item 6, new business. Discussion regarding, by the way, thank you, Jane, for your comments. I just want to make sure. Okay. Discussion regarding the 2019 tax lien waivers. And did I say that right, Joan?
That's,
Tax lien waivers?
No, it's got to
Okay.
be tax foreclosure. I'm sorry, wait just a minute here, be granted a foreclosure waiver,
Okay.
because the lien stays in place, and if you don't do anything with it, it automatically goes into foreclosure at some later date, and that gives the city that property. So if we grant a foreclosure waiver, then we don't have to take the properties. We can let them sit there, and the park owner will be sitting there with it.
Very clear to me.
Yep.
Okay, Dennis.
So aside from the wording on the agenda and the memo, but you are correct. It should be the foreclosure waiver process that we're going through tonight. We have on our list of all the properties that we could potentially foreclose upon this year due to unpaid taxes, there are 8 mobile homes that we would recommend that the council waive foreclosure on. These are properties you can see included on the staff memo. There's not a lot of money owed on them, but if we were to take ownership, then we also take on the responsibility of paying rent in the mobile home parks where they're located, as well as demolition of the homes for most of these, or relocation of them when the time comes. And so we would recommend that for these 8 mobile homes that the council grant a waiver of foreclosure, and then we will notify the county of that and not take ownership of these. Joan is correct, or sorry, Councilor Terrio is correct. The taxes would stay in place. There still is an obligation to pay them. We're just not foreclosing on that right now.
Any comments or questions?
So moved.
Second.
Any comment, any questions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Let's see. 6B, discussion regarding network support services with Oak Leaf. Dennis.
For the past few years, we've utilized Oak Leaf Systems, Inc. And Bob Sowers. It's a local business here in Caribou. They are available basically every day except holidays, and have been very responsive, not only to City Hall, but to other departments for network issues. They've helped us more recently with phone issues, internet, providing equipment. In fact, just recently, we were hearing complaints about not being able to hear the speakers in this room, and so they were able to help us get speakers and microphones set up to be able to pipe the sound better into the back of the room. Very reasonable cost. He's able to bulk purchase things for us, which is also very helpful. And this contract is an annual contract. It does not have any automatic renewal provision in it. And so we brought this to you last year. We bring it to you again. Mr. Sowers was willing to reduce some of his pricing this year, recognizing the council's concern with the budget, and so essentially cut close to $3,000 out of his contract, and was willing to take on some of the cost of some antivirus software that we were previously paying for. And so we'd recommend that the council authorize me to execute this contract for another year. I know one of the questions that I've been asked is, how often do we put this out to bid? We've not put a formal bid out, advertised bid out, for a couple of years. And we try to do these services about every 3 years, and so next year will be the time since I've been here to do that. We were contacted by another IT company earlier this year who approached us and said, can we give you a bid? And we said, certainly. We just didn't hear back from them. So we're not opposed to competition and providing services for better cost. We recognize we need to be doing that and checking ourselves frequently. But for this year, we recommend moving forward with Oak Leaf Systems, Inc. again.
Is this something that needs to be done, or is this a first read, or?
You can treat it as a first read tonight if you'd like it. This would not be effective until January 1st, so we
Okay.
can do first read tonight and action another night.
Okay. I would prefer to do it that way. Any questions or comments on the packet that we received on this? Can
6:30.
you explain just real rough, how many times do you call these people?
It's at least a couple of times a week. I've actually asked him for some of their data on that, and so it's from 1 to 2 times a week, and then that's what he actually tracks. That's not counting the one-off phone calls here and there, and the 2 minutes that he might spend fixing something for us that he's not keeping track of. But he is available basically 24/7 for us, even though the contract does spell out specific hours that he's going to be available. But I know he's answered the phone outside of those hours for me on multiple occasions.
And dealing with things like, do our computers just lock up? And he comes in and unlocks them.
He can
I don't
unlock
know
them, he
much
can
about
fix
this,
them.
so,
Yeah,
you know, you got to help me out here.
right. So, for instance, we know that Windows 7 is not going to be taken care of anymore by Microsoft. So he helps us get all of our computers transitioned over to the latest Microsoft software that's going to be handled and supported, and monitors the software that we're loading on the machines, making sure that we have capacity for those, and even helping us find other options. As far as equipment goes, he helps us find some of the better deals on equipment from what we might say we need. He helps us find the most cost-effective options for that. It's not just, hey, my computer's locked up, can you give me my password? It's multiple things.
Have you started the transition to Windows 10?
Yes.
Painful, isn't it?
For some, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Item 6C, Police Station RFQ recommendation from the Selection Committee. Dennis.
So the council asked us to put an RFQ out. That's a request for qualifications advertisement. And we advertised that in the papers. We also sent that out to the American Institute of Architects, asking them to send it out to any members that they knew of that were in Maine or elsewhere. And we asked them to send us basically their resumes, what kind of familiarity they have with these types of projects. And we reviewed those. And based on the information that was provided, the selection committee selected 3 that they wanted to have come in and make more formal presentation and give us a better idea of what their expertise were and really what they thought the project was going to entail, how they were going to go about it, how they were going to engage the public, and if there were any things that were just lessons learned that we need to be mindful of as we go through this process. The selection committee consisted of the council building committee, and so that included Councilor Terrio, Martin, Cody, and Kirkpatrick were at least notified of this information. They were sent the information. We also included our police chief, Mark Gahagan, who's a sergeant, our building official, our code enforcement officer, myself, and we also included Bruce Hagelstein, who was involved with the Citizens Advisory Committee process. And he has also been involved with the RSU building project, so he has a good understanding of kind of what happens with all of these big dollar projects and what kind of processes we might be looking at. At the end of the interview process with the 3 firms, the selection committee that participated recommended that we move forward, or that the council move forward looking at Artifacts. They're a company based out of Bangor. One of their team members has built hundreds of police stations and knows the ins and outs of the current codes, the current regulations, and the indication was that they could be on the ground November 18th if we wanted to move that quickly. I told them, well, that we need to bring it to the council and get their input, discussions, and that it probably wouldn't be November 18th, but I wanted to just share this information with the council so you could see that. And if you have any questions, I can try to answer those. But Councilor Terrio was involved with the process, with both of the selection processes, as well as some of the other committee members are here tonight if you'd like to ask questions.
Any questions from the council? Fair enough. Treat this as a first read. As I went over the agenda with you earlier in the week, under executive session, we're going to be talking about the Sitel building, which might interplay here a little bit. 'Cause this is part of
Certainly.
part of the bid deal.
Right.
So I guess I'd like to. I want to apologize for not being at the last couple of meetings. It's just the way life is. So I'd like to get caught up under just my personal self under the Sitel deal before we do anything. But it's a first read.
Right.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, the additional item 6D is a request for a little bit of financial support from Tammy Landine to do something at the Para Bobsled event. City of Caribou get a logo on this thing, on the bobsled?
I'll put one on my helmet, sir.
Okay.
If the Olympic Committee will let you, right?
If they'll let me. Yes, thank you for the
Okay, I'm
clarification.
Right.
If I'm allowed.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion.
I got a question first.
Go ahead.
Where are your other team members located?
I've got, there's 5 of us total,
Mhm.
2 in Texas, 1 in Florida, and I'm not sure, the other guy's out west somewhere.
And they've all got funding to go.
Yes, I don't know where they got their funding from. I know one of the guys actually has 3 Purple Hearts. All 5 of us are military. One of the guys has some real big, deep-pocketed veterans organizations that just hand him his finances. I know one of the other girl was cleaning out her retirement to do it. She was hit with it at the same time I was. You got 3 weeks to decide. One of the other guy, the one from Florida, has works for Enterprise at a corporate level. That's what Enterprise picked him up personally. That's really all I know right now.
Joe?
Well, past councils and recently also, we've made it a policy to not donate to charitable organizations and things like this, only because it puts it out there as a taxpayer expense, if it's a little bit or a lot, and because it opens up the possibility that there will be a lot of others. And so we made it a policy, and mostly I think it was an older council than what we have right now, that made it that policy. It isn't that we don't want to help you, it's just that we don't think that, or we didn't at the time, think that the burden should be put on the taxpayers for a charity or an organization or an event that they maybe wouldn't support or couldn't afford or whatever. So we always said, there's GoFundMe pages that you can set up. There's people that here in town or whatever that know about it once you put it out there, that they could donate personally to you. Business, they can donate that. But I still follow that policy that I just don't think that this is something that the city should be doing, because there'll be no end after this. I wish you the best of luck, but personally, I would not vote, but that's the only reason. It's because this is public money that, you know, so. That's,
Thank you, Joan. Any other comments or questions? Chair will entertain any motions.
When are we meeting again?
25th.
And that's after.
Chair will make a motion to donate $1,000 to Tammy Landine. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to donate $1,000 to Tammy Landine. I assume that, okay, no, that's what I'm doing. It's based on that you will somehow find the other 4,000
I hope so.
to get there, and that this trip is on.
The trip is on. I've already bought my plane tickets. So this portion definitely is.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries. Go USA? There's more than one of you, right? There could be more than one of you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Get the number 1 sled.
Right now I'm number 4, so.
It's all right. We trust you. We'll get up there. Thank you very much. Item number 7, old business and adoption of ordinance and resolution. Ordinance for 2019 series, amending personnel policies. Oh yeah, this is the one. Pertaining to catastrophic leave and whistleblower protection. Chair will entertain a motion. You.
I motion that we accept the whistleblower protection portion of this ordinance and not the catastrophic leave portion.
second.
Moved by Hugh. Did you want to say something?
After these guys are.
Okay. Seconded by Joan. Any comments?
So you would just strike out the catastrophic leave portion and put that on its own ordinance once you guys hash out the language?
Right. So we will take out, under this ordinance, Section 1, Title 2, Part 1. We'll strike that. And
Figure it out.
Yep.
Okay.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you very much. 7B, Resolution 10-3-2019, authorizing the manager to accept property conveyance from Sitel. Go ahead.
Mayor and Council, I'd recommend that we go through executive session before we take action on this
Okay.
resolution.
Does that require a table or do something, or just let it go?
You can table it till later in the meeting.
Okay.
You can table it to a time specific. It doesn't mean that it has to go to the next meeting.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion to table this item until the end of the executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Tom, seconded by Joan. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Discussion, 7C, discussion regarding the draft 2020 municipal budget. Dennis.
Per charter, I'm supposed to, as a manager, present to you a draft of the expense and capital budget. So in your packet is included that draft for you to look at. Within the document, We've provided a layman's term on the major changes within each department, the most significant elements. The big changes or the big things we're looking at for this coming year. As far as the personnel-related changes, currently we're not showing a cost of living increase for the non-union employees. We do have to look at the state minimum wage increase from $11 to $12, which affects our budget by an additional $13,000. We're still waiting for the Public Works Union and the Police Officers Union to finish their negotiations, so we're not sure how that is going to fully play out in the budget. The Fire Union did complete their negotiations, and the council agreed to a 1% increase under their agreement, which adds a little over $8,000 to the budget. The bigger ticket items are the health insurance increase that we're looking at for next year. We were notified that there would be a 6.76% increase to all of our health insurance. And we've already started looking at, for next year, for next budget, the 2021 budget, some options to reduce that without drastically impacting the employees. So we need to have some more discussions about that in the 2021 budget process. Workers' compensation went up by 24%, and so that added $50,000 to the budget. We have one new position that's currently in the budget, which is a part-time position in the tax assessing office. You may recall that our tax assessor has been getting a lot of training and expertise so that we can do our quarterly reviews of the properties and the valuations in-house. What Ms. Penny Thompson has indicated to us is that if she had a part-time person, that she'd be able to begin that process and save the city, we anticipate, several $100,000 down the road. For capital projects that were more than $50,000, there was a handful that came up on our radar. One of those being the structural review of the fire station, which was brought to the forefront by an insurance requirement. The indication is that we would need to spend almost $250,000 on the fire station to upgrade the roof and the structural supports. I would also say that there is a possibility that because of the cost of those improvements, other building codes may kick in, which may require additional upgrades to that building. We'll have to look at that as we get closer to that project. They have $164,000 with regards to the design of a new police station. That $164,000 pertains to the RFQ, as was mentioned earlier, and is the amount basically that we would anticipate being spent if the council moves forward with artifacts to get us to an election point. And any costs beyond that, which we know there will be some in building a new police station, would become part of a bond process if the citizens approve that bond. We also have the reconstruction of the T Park going on, which will include $126,000 toward a splash pad, which we've already had donated to us, that sum of money. So that's more of it's already there, we're just paying for it. But there will be some additional improvements needed around the splash pad. And so altogether, you're looking about $150,000 for that project next year. For the River Road, we're currently showing a $120,000 negative balance in that project. That's mainly due to us anticipating that we would have gone out for a bond and have those funds rolled into a general obligation bond. We're now looking at doing the work in-house, looking to save money and utilizing more public works time and resources to fix that. We have, just a quick note, we did receive the final design for the River Road, so that if we did go with a full reconstruction project, we have those plans in hand now. We have in 2020 the proposed remounting of an ambulance cab. So as the truck and the engine and everything wear out, we're still able to basically take the cab and all of the medical equipment and wiring and everything else that's in there and just remount that onto a new system, being able to save the city, again, several thousands of dollars in doing that rather than just buying a new one. We recognize that that's not in the budget, but this is one way of extending the life of the cab and the equipment there. Also, we anticipate resurfacing the parking lots or some of the parking lots in the downtown area, and so the capital project or the capital plan right now proposes adding $60,000 toward the parking lot resurfacing. That project is probably going to be done over a 3-year process and likely need additional funds into there over the next 3 years. We still have financial obligations for the fire engine, and those payments are roughly $117,000, and our last payment is scheduled for 2021, which leads to the next financial obligation we're dealing with, which is the biomass boiler system. We are in the payment in 2019 was $106,000. The payment system escalates each year, and so next year it's going to be slightly higher. And the capital plan right now, what we're hoping to do is roll the fire engine payment once that's done into the cost of the biomass boiler system, so we can pay down that earlier by about 2 years. It'll save us about $8,000 in interest if we do that. So the overall budget includes expenses of a little over $11 million, which is a 7.35% increase from the modified budget of 2019. When I say modified, what I mean is that when we were starting to go through the mill rate process in June and July this last year, the council asked that additional $338,000 be pulled out of the budget. And so that 7.35 is from that budget after we took all those other things out halfway through the year. Overall, the city's operation and capital expenses are 3.92% more than the original expense budget of 2019. And as I said, almost 7.5% increase from the 2019 budget. I think the looming issues that we're really seeing are on the capital side of things. If you look at page 47, 46 of the council packet, there's a bar graph there that illustrates, as we're looking at the capital needs, not only equipment but for building facilities and maintenance. As we look at the next 5 years, next 6 years, there's going to be a significant hurdle that we need to address. When we started this process, I asked all of the department heads to go through their facilities, identify major work that needs to be done, whether it's a roof replacement, structural modifications as we've been made aware of, replacing on this building, looking at sidewalks and exterior modifications, as well as equipment needs, and give me for the next 6 years and even beyond that, the next 10 to 15 years for major purchases, so that we could put this graph together and illustrate what are we looking at coming up pretty quickly. You can see that 2018 we were under $800,000. In 2019, again, with the modified budget, we took a bunch of those capital projects out in order to get the mill rate where the council wanted. We came down about $750,000 for capital projects and equipment. And the current draft budget, we're looking at over $1 million in capital projects and equipment needs. This budget does anticipate, you can see there's a big blue portion of the column in 2020. That is that $164,000 for the police study. And this budget is proposing that where that is a one-time project, that we do look at potential use of one-time funds that are coming to us from the Aroostook Waste Solutions. We'll be receiving about $340,000 this year from that. I know that the council had hopes to be able to not tap into any of that, but if we don't, there's another roughly $164,000 of expense, and admittedly, we're getting very close. Over the last couple of years, the department heads have trimmed and trimmed where they can. Unfortunately, we have major capital needs coming up. We have insurance costs that are going up, and we're definitely going to have to take a hard look at things. But by utilizing some of those one-time funds for that one-time project, that'll definitely ease the burden going into next year. We've looked at the projected revenues for 2020. Currently, this budget is a balanced budget if we utilize those one-time funds. We are going to be receiving additional revenue from the state from our revenue sharing, which was adopted by the legislature last year. That will go up again in 2020. So next year we'll see even additional funds from the revenue sharing, which will be helpful. Also, with the work that Chief Susi was able to do with the legislature on getting the rural ambulance services being able to be reimbursed more, we expect that there'll be another additional almost $240,000 of revenue that can come through our ambulance services, which, again, it doesn't make it so that we're in the positive with the ambulance service, but it definitely helps offset the costs associated with that service and helps to have a more balanced budget. So according to the charter, the council does not have to adopt this tonight. You're able to, in December, look at this. We can have another public hearing on it. But before the end of December, the council has to adopt a budget for 2020.
Dave?
Can we add to this?
If you'd like.
I'd like to get a consensus from the council. I'd like to add $50,000 for a senior tax relief program that the public has already shown that it supports, so that we can help our most needy citizens. Do I need a motion to add that in?
I'll just make note of everything that you want to add all together, or however you'd like to approach it one by one.
Can we have a workshop? Are we going to have a workshop on this so that we can kind of?
Ken?
I
you'd
think
like.
it will be a good idea, because it's difficult to do this all through the council meeting as well and try to get everything else done. And I think if we had a workshop where we could hash it all out, the different items and ideas and stuff like that would be very helpful.
I did have a question on how we were gonna go forward after tonight's presentation, so I'll bring that up. Are you done with the presentation?
Unless you have any other questions for me at this point.
Okay. Any questions? Real quick?
I like Joan's idea.
Yeah. Let's take this one. But real quick, you said this was a balanced budget.
In that the revenues are projected to match the expenses if we utilize those one-time funds for that one-time project.
Okay. I have $11 million in expenses, and I have roughly $10,850,000 in income.
Right.
How's that equal? How does that work?
If we utilize the one-time funds, that's what creates the balance in the budget.
So the one-time funds are not in the income yet.
No, we don't show them in the income. They would show up in the mill rate process, where we show them as other funds applied to the mill rate to
Got it.
balance it. But I should also clarify, this does not anticipate keeping the mill rate the same. Even with the revenue that we have and these expenses, this, again, we have to wait till the revenues are a little bit closer into June or July. But right now, this still anticipates that we'd be looking at almost a 1.2 mil increase.
See, I heard that, and in my world, if you take in more money, if you spend what you take in, I don't understand how the mill rate can go up. Neither here nor there. We can work it out in a budget type meeting.
Mhm.
So even if we do this one and use one-time funds, we're anticipating a 1.2 mil increase.
And that does not account for anything that the county might ask for or the school district might ask for.
That, we all understand that. The public understands that.
Yeah.
That we're dealing with just the city budget right now. Okay.
And much of that comes down to the formulas for how everything flows in and out, and we can walk you through that in a work session.
Did you say 1.5 or 1.2?
1.2.
1.2.
Okay. At the end of the meeting, we'll discuss the workshop session date. Any other questions or comments? Anybody from the audience got anything to say? It's a big deal. Doug, did you get a full copy of the whole deal?
I did.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Item 7D, discussion regarding snow removal around the fire hydrants. Yes. Councillor Hill.
I'm going to excuse myself from this discussion.
Fair enough. Councillor, for the public, Councillor Hugh is involved in the CUB himself. And that's what this, I suppose, this is what this is gonna deal with. Okay, Dennis.
Well, the council asked during the last meeting to have this put on the agenda for discussion. And last year we also talked about it. The process that we have right now as far as the snow removal around fire hydrants is that the Public Works Department, they first will focus on getting the roads open and the sidewalks around the school areas was a big focus, and they have the equipment to be able to do that. And when there's a lull in the storms, they will come down and start doing cleanup processes. And fire hydrants are part of that cleanup process, essentially. There's been concern that, well, not so a concern, but the question of if the city is not able to do that because we're out plowing the snow and doing everything else, can the Caribou Utilities District take the responsibility for cleaning out those hydrants? Essentially, because they are their hydrants. We are paying a hydrant rental fee to them, and what would happen if we don't do any of the cleaning of the hydrants out and we simply say to the CUD, since we're paying you that lease money, you need to make sure that those hydrants are clean. Dave, is that basically where we're at as far as how we approach cleaning the hydrants?
Yeah. So when I put it into perspective on how we get things done, the roads take the top priority, then the sidewalks would be next, and the cleanup in the parking lots, and then when we are finally caught up, then I will go clean the hydrants out. And with the being a smaller staff, when that was first put into place, we were a crew of 20. We are now a crew of 15 with one seasonal, so it's 16 in the wintertime. With a smaller crew, it just became harder and harder to do. Last year was probably one of the worst of all years because of so much wind. So when the wind blows, I've seen days out the country roads
I've had discussions with Councilor Kirkpatrick, wearing his other hat as the CUD manager. There's concern also from their side about having the staff that they need and to be able to get things done on their side in the wintertime. And the indication has been that if there's a real pickle and we need some of their help, they're willing to come and do that. But it was through almost a gentleman's agreement, if you will, many, many years ago, that the city of Caribou took on the responsibility of cleaning out the hydrants. There's nothing in writing to that effect. That was just how it was done and how it's been done. So if we want to create a more formal agreement and the council wants to say, CUD, take care of the hydrants, then we need to engage the CUD board and work through that.
Any discussion?
I can't see spending $330,000 to rent something and then have to shovel it out to use it. I mean, try that in the real world.
People do with houses when they rent a house. They get a plow it. There's plenty of houses in this world that are rented out to other people, but it's the renters. They have to plow it out.
But we're renting here, okay, fine. But if I go rent a car and I have to shovel it out of the snowbank, I'm not gonna rent that car. I mean,
What do you mean you're gonna rent a car? You drive it to your driveway, then you got to shovel it out to get out of your driveway.
Oh, come on.
Well, it's the same thing, Dave.
$330,000. And we have to use $50,000 worth of public works time and effort to make sure that the fire department can use those hydrants.
My whole deal on this, and this is all I'm going to say on it, what has changed from the time it was perfectly okay for this to happen to now?
5 less people.
5 less people, then you got to manage your time better. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm going to say on it.
Joan?
Okay. Couple of things. I agree. They belong to the CUD. They should be maintained by the CUD. There's one element here, though, however, and this has been a gentleman's agreement for years and years and years, and it's worked because you've had the personnel to do it. What happens if this gentleman's agreement keeps on going and Highway says, yeah, when I get a minute, I'll go plow that out. And in the meantime, the hydrant fills in and you can't get to it and there's a fire. Who's going to be responsible for not being able to get to that hydrant? You need this spelled out, and I think it should be CUD owns those hydrants. We pay for the rental on those hydrants. I think they should maintain them, and it should be spelled out very clearly so that there's no assumed liability anywhere else if something like that should happen. That's just what I think.
Any other comment, questions?
Mayor, I would say right now, with only 4 of you in the chairs, and it sounds like there would be a split vote, nothing's going to happen tonight on it, because you'd need a majority vote, and you can't have that with only 4.
Can all 4
You would
agree?
need a unanimous vote with only 4.
So it is possible.
It is possible.
Chair will entertain a motion. If there's no further discussion, no more comments. Chair will entertain a motion.
I move that CUD be responsible for making the hydrants available to the fire department.
I second it.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion fails. I don't know why we're paying rent either. I don't know why we're cleaning them up. It's the district's equipment. It's the district's infrastructure. It ought to be the district's responsibility. My problem is, I don't know if it's fair, right after the first snowstorm, to start yanking things and changing gentlemen's agreements of 25 years. And if we go down the road and do something like this, ample amount of time should be given to the CUD so that they can adjust their budgets. And I want to be fair as I can on this. Dave?
Yeah, this was brought up in March, and you said, well, let's do a short-term solution and a long-term solution. So budget time is the time for the long-term solution.
Motion fails. Item number 8, reports and discussion by mayor and council members. The mayor. Any council members have anything to say? Oh yeah, let's wait for you. I'm sorry. Discussions by the mayor and council members. Anything, guys? Joan?
I'd just like to run something by the council. Back this summer, when I went to the ribbon cutting ceremony for Beauregard, I met Lanice Searway, who is the executive director of the Central Aroostook Area Chamber of Commerce. And she asked me at the time why Caribou was not participating in the chamber. And I explained to her that we had a chamber, the director was very inefficient, they disbanded, and we gave it somewhat of a try in Presque Isle, and that didn't work out either. So we didn't join. And she said that she would like to come to the council to at least make a presentation, that a lot of changes have been made, and she would like to at least talk about the changes that have been made and what they have to offer, to see if Caribou would like to join, reconsider, or whatever. So I told her that I would, I'd like to see her minutes and stuff. And she said, well, I'll email them to you. And I said, no, why don't you email them to the manager? And I haven't seen anything, but I did tell her that I would mention it to the council if you're in agreement to at least have her come, give a presentation, talk about the Central Aroostook Area Chamber of Commerce, and see if it's something that the council might be interested in. That's all I have to say, really, if it's something that you want to invite her to do or whatever. So.
More than happy to have her come make a presentation. I was kind of disappointed this year when County Ag moved, and nobody told me there was a ribbon cutting ceremony, and they had one, and I'm thinking something not right there, because I would have loved to have gone to that one. Like I went to the one downtown with the daycare, and so I like to go to those. I didn't know anything, but can you figure out some way to schedule this lady to come make a presentation?
Like the next meeting or something like that.
Okay. Any other thing?
I'd like to recognize a member.
Go ahead.
Due to the results of the election we had here last week, the council is retaining one incumbent and gaining a new member. Due to these developments, the member we are losing is Councillor Martin. Back in the fall of 2012, I applied for Steve Buck's position as city manager and was interviewed by the 7 city council members at that time. During the interview, Councillor Martin had some kind and encouraging words for me regarding my effort to find employment, reestablish my career here, and move back to my hometown. Although I don't remember his exact words, I'll always be humbled he took the time in that interview to thank me for trying to come home. Now, by my count, Councillor Martin served 4 3-year terms on the council for a total of 12 years. He was willing to serve at least 15. Mr. Martin, for your dedication to this community, first as a teacher at Caribou High School, and secondly as a member of this council, we the citizens of Caribou owe you a debt of our gratitude. Thank you for your career, your time, and countless contributions to this community. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I'd like to read a letter that was sent into the letters to the editor. I don't know if anyone has seen this particular one. The author is a gentleman, I have no idea. His name is Stephen Freeman from Presque Isle. And I think it's very appropriate that his message. And I'm going to read it verbatim if I can. The 2017 Presque Isle. In 2017, Presque Isle started a city ambulance service. The objective was to make money to subsidize the cost of a full-time fire department. Notwithstanding the ethics of making money from public service, and now with the pending demise of Northern Light Regional 911 ambulance service, the City Council should consider the pros and cons of a regional fire/ambulance service. Although the regionalization of municipal service may no longer be a local priority, it is not time to be complacent. As everyone knows, the federal deficit last year was almost $1 trillion. We are spending our way into a debt crisis. Preparing for the next financial crisis, the City Council long-term view should include using cost-effective regional services. The City Council should consider 3 actions. Promote a tri-community advisory committee consisting of managers and elected officials for the purpose of considering the regionalization of municipal services. Number 2, it should revisit its union contracts and remove any language which hinders regionalization. And number 3, it should finally develop an in-house expertise to conduct financial analysis. There is a timely need for business models so that the City Council can determine if regional services are feasible and determine how much to charge when providing fire and ambulance services to neighboring communities outside the member communities. Stephen Farnham from Presque Isle. I read that and it just hit me so close because it's so true to my beliefs as to, you could even almost call this the start of a zero-based budgeting way of looking at things. Nobody's saying regionalization works, but we got to start looking and trying to see what we can do. I got to call this guy and see if he'll be my new best friend.
I'll give you his number.
Right?
I'll give you his
Well,
number.
you know the guy?
I'm married to him.
You gotta kind of know that going into it, Oh, I'm gonna get a Christmas gift from you. Well, I just find it to be a very insightful thing. Geez, I didn't mean to yell in the mic. I can't believe it. What? Well, okay. I never
The joke was on you, we all knew it.
Well, anyway, and part of that was not only fire and ambulance, it was the union contract that doesn't allow the general assistance to be done through a regionalization, because remember, it's a union contract that's the stumbling block from Presque Isle helping us do general assistance here in Caribou. So.
Well, I just considered it a nice letter. Please pass
No,
it.
but I edited it.
In life, I'm a very avid fan of Tri-Community Landfill and the way it's structured by having Fairfield, Limestone, and Caribou as its original members. And now we've added Presque Isle. You go back into the charts of the presentation you gave us tonight on our budget, and you look at the line for Tri-Community Landfill cost. It's straight for the last 10 years. Actually, we're paying a little less than we did 10 years ago for a very valued service. And it works good because we have conservative, business-minded people at the helm. Managers are there and members of the community are there. And I just don't know why similar things couldn't be developed and how we try to figure out what we're going to face during this budget process that we're going to go through. So it doesn't happen overnight, but it's something we got to get started on, in my opinion. Thank you. Jeez, I can't get over that, Jane. Wow, that's hard to believe. Reports from officers, staff, boards, and committees. Mrs. Freeman, have you got anything you'd like to say? Oh, I'm sorry. Manager's report, I did.
I've included in the packet just an update on the major topics or the major projects that we're dealing with. We'll be discussing quite a few of these in executive session tonight due to their nature. We are, as far as the LED conversion process goes, Realterm is finalizing documents to submit to Emera for their final checklist of getting it under the LED rate structure. We've already been seeing it as a privately owned streetlight system rate structure, but to have the LED rate structure also in place will give us additional discounts. And I make note of that also in the budget document that our streetlight costs may actually go down a little bit in the budget depending on how that rate structure plays out. The fire EMS structural study is complete, as I've mentioned. Sewell has provided us a quote for the services to design the structural upgrades that would be necessary for that. We've already told them that we're holding off on that project until next fiscal year when we know what's happening with the budget. The bird's eye cleanup is I met this last Tuesday with the representatives of the EPA and the State Department of Environmental Quality to revisit the brownfield grant application and get that turned in. We've noticed for the next city council meeting a public hearing for the public to come in and review that application. So I anticipate spending the next week and a half getting all that put together based on the comments, the feedback we've received, and the direction from the feds on that. The contractor, I understand we have contractors that rolled onto site to demolish a couple of homes, but we still are waiting for the asbestos work to be done on those homes. So
Asbestos work started today.
okay. And so those homes where the asbestos work is happening, Ken, again, is
There's 25 Liberty Street. I saw County Abatement was there today, dealing with the asbestos siding and also some other materials in the building. The excavator's already on site, so they've already started to mobilize. And when they wrap up these couple of small projects, they're going to move right over to Bird's Eye and continue.
okay. The Caribou Craft Fair was successful again, and already making preparations for the gingerbread night in December. We'll make sure to get you all the updated dates and times for what's happening for the rest of November and December. And Teague Park, what's the latest on Teague Park, Mr. Marquis?
The latest on the park right now is with 9 inches of snow, we're pretty much done on doing any more work there this year. They're going to continue working on the building to get that completed. They're still working on wiring it up right now, so they're heating the building right now with generator and silent glows to keep it hot because they have it all sheeted, it's all mudded, and now they're just working on the interior. So we'll see some construction work going on until the building is complete. But as for the park groundwork, nothing's going to happen until next spring, probably 1st of May, before they can mobilize back out on the site. So they've given us the green light to utilize the new parking lot that they paved. We held off on utilizing it for almost 3 weeks. The contractor was very happy that we weren't using it at all. But now with, as you just mentioned, the gingerbread night, that brings close to 600-700 people in the building. That extra parking lot's going to be nice to be able to use. So we cleaned it out today, and we'll be able to use it for special events throughout the holiday season and beyond. So we're making plans for next year. Thank you.
What night is the gingerbread house thing?
Friday, the first Friday of December, which is 6th. And then the craft fair, the holiday shop, is going to be on the 7th. And like as Manager Marker mentioned, we'll get that information out to you guys shortly. Thank you.
Other than that, still working on the general plan. Dunkin' Donuts, I believe they already had a ceremony over there. No, not yet. I haven't been told of the ribbon cutting for Dunkin' Donuts yet, but
Dunkin's done a soft opening, and I believe their grand opening is not until
20. I just spoke to the manager this
21st?
afternoon. It's the 21st or the 22nd. Yeah. So
we'll make sure we get a ribbon in front of it and you're notified for when that will take place. I already mentioned River Road, Hilltop Senior. The work is still ongoing, and we're have a hold on the rewrite until the budget season's all done. The council asked during the last meeting for some tidbits about the fire station roof, and so we've provided the information over the last few years, the amount of money that we've been starting to put into the roof. You can see that for the last, in 2016, we put almost $400 into patching it. And again in 2018, almost $850 of patching it. And then in 2019, if we include the study that we were mandated to do by the insurance company, almost $2,200. Plus, I don't know for sure that that it got done, but they were hoping to get another $300 into the patching of the roof before the snow fell. They might have to wait till next week, but at this point, we are under the mandate to make sure there's no more than 2 feet of snow on that roof. And so I know that the chief is trying to coordinate that happening, either between his crews or maybe even Powers Roofing that has equipment to be able to get up there on that membrane and clear the snow off without damaging it more. The council also asked about the percentage or the interest rate that we're paying on the pellet boilers. The average annual interest rate is 3.591%, and the total principal, or the original principal on the project, was $986,000. As I mentioned earlier, our payment system with that continues to go up every year, and we make 2 payments each year on the pellet boiler system. And the fee structure was included in your packet so that you can see it's anticipated to be paid off if we don't pay advance and on it in 2025, July 2025. Okay, that's it for my report. There's other in the packet. There was included different department reports for your review if you have any questions about those.
Any other comments or questions on the manager's report? Thank you, Dennis. Okay, now, reports of officers, staff, boards, and committees.
I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything.
Okay, we're gonna go into executive session, but first, let's discuss next meetings. Let's go to item number 12 right now. We have a meeting scheduled for November 25th. Boy, too bad we couldn't do something next week, huh? For a budget workshop that you were mentioning.
18th?
18th?
Monday.
That's fine, yeah.
Time? 6?
6 o'clock.
Okay, we have 2 counselors, we'll just have to notify them and hope they can do it. Nothing's on their schedule. So we'll call that a budget workshop.
Okay.
Okay. Very good. And then we can decide after that, anything future. Okay, now we're back up to.
Mayor, so there's a question.
I'm sorry, Dave.
Yeah, I think that I'd like to request the council to allow Councillor-elect Morel to sit in on executive sessions, since some of these will not be decided within the next 6 weeks.
Got it. I get the call who goes to executive session. That's what
Yes,
you
you
said.
do.
That's what you said.
Yes, you do.
Well, I'm not giving that up. You're invited.
Thank you.
Okay, Chair will entertain a motion now. Let's do the executive session that deals with John's point first. And that
Economic
was an economic development deal, which is number
C.
C. 405. Chair will entertain a motion to go into executive session for 4056C.
So moved.
Second. Moved by Hugh, second by Tom, to go into executive session. All those in favor? Thank you very much, and have a great